All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our mid-July podcast and intentional living. Marty Keller here in Sacramento with John Donovan, the guy who invented all of this madness down in Oceanside, California, and our colleague, Dan Gutierrez, aka Danny G, as he's known in Hollywood. And Dan has been a frequent guest with us, and he was the first guy, I don't know if we ever talked about this, he was the first guy to work with John to learn how to manage and facilitate process groups using accountability practice. So Dan's a veteran in this work. And so I'd like to welcome you, Dan, to the podcast.
I'm mortified and glad to be here at the same time.
Perfect.
Good. I'm glad you're here too.
Yeah, we're mortified and glad you're here too.
Yeah.
So I think you've got some stuff you'd like to share with us. So
Man.
Dan, why don't we turn it over to you to get started?
Okay, so I just got to acknowledge, to myself and that I'm feeling really nervous, hesitant, and afraid. Yeah, that's the way I'm feeling. I intend to be confident, present, and accepting. Hey there, buddy. I have a four-legged friend who's with me too. So what I'd like to talk about, what's come up for myself, and I'm sharing with other people, is the concept of that we're all connected, and based on having that belief, have that be a part of me, and have the intent to work and come from that spot of connection with everyone, has given me a huge amount of relief, and it's created another avenue for personal growth. And so what I'd like to talk about based on that is that judgment. The word judgment, in my experience, has had some negative, no, I don't want to say negative. I just want to say has a narrative around it that I remember being told, don't judge other people. Don't judge a book by its cover. And if I do, I'm a bad person. There's a moral failing because I judge people rather than not judge them. And so I've come to the awareness that there's nothing wrong with judgment. It's a biological imperative for me to judge my environment, my perception of the environment. It's there for me to lead a life of safety, connection, and freedom. So there's nothing wrong with my judgment. It's just that there's a belief that being judgmental is not a good thing. So then there's the judgment of the judgment. So I've come to allow myself the freedom to judge myself, others, and whatever I judge myself or others, it's what I do with that judgment. So that was the first phase of things, and then I realized that when I'm judging something, I'm comparing what I'm seeing to something else. Otherwise, judging is comparing. I'm comparing what I'm seeing to it's in my life experience. And so it's like, okay, that works. And that's the way I'm supposed to do it. I can't compare things that haven't happened yet. All I can do is I have stored memories, stored experiences, conscious and subconscious, and that's where my judgment goes to compare the two, what I'm seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting. I'm going to generate information. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what part of my mind does. It's neither good nor bad. It's generating information, and it's my job to become the observer of the information rather than be tied to it. And that gives me a perspective of what's really happening in the present moment rather than me living in my past. So that's where the judgment comes in. And then there's the perception. It's my perception of what's happening. I use the judgment, then I have a perception around what it means. And then lo and behold, if I see fear coming in, I'm going to project that out onto the world. So being accountable for my projections allows me to go, this is what's happening on the inside of me. And this is when I own my projections, I have a window to what's going on inside of me. And over the time, this pattern has revealed itself. Like I had talked about in the other podcast, is that I don't feel safe in the world. Through the accountability practice, that's what kept popping up. And you can call it other names, but for me, the word safety resonated. And this is what happened. This is through the accountability practice. So it keeps generating information, the accountability practice. So I go from judgment to perception to projection. And then the next part of it for me is the forgiveness. So going back to judgment, when I judge somebody else, I'm judging myself. So when I can forgive myself, I forgive other people. It's not like they need forgiveness, but it's me projecting outwardly onto them. So when I can forgive myself, the world is forgiven. Because the world outside of me is just a projection of the world that's inside of me. So part of the 4 constants that we, I don't know if it's been such a long time. I don't know if you have that, you write that on the board anymore?
I do.
Okay. And own my projections. I used to have the thought that I'm doing this, I'm owning my projections, well, I've now do it at a different level. And for me, that all this work is not done for the external world. It's to create, for me, safety with myself. God, this is fleeting here. I don't know if I told both you guys. Yeah, I know I told both you guys. I had this epiphany a while back. I thought I had figured everything out. If I if I could only know what I don't know, I'd have this shit figured out. So, I thought, man, that's pretty fucking stupid. Pardon my language. That's pretty fucking stupid. And then I go, you know what? I'm going to create the intention to know what I don't know. And it's not that stupid.
No, No, it's not. No.
So that's how that part of the accountability tree works for me. It's when I generate information about myself, I use that information. I feel what my current reality is. I feel that experience, how I'm feeling. I allow my emotions to generate the wisdom that has been locked away in the trauma, the dysfunction. It's more of an acting out, because that's where the early childhood trauma is. That little child has to communicate through his emotions, and it's my job as the adult to allow that. And through the feeling, my feeling body, I interpret those emotionals, the emotion that's happening, and then I create the experience I want to have based on the wisdom of that experience of letting that emotion communicate to me. And then I ask for what I want. I want to lead a life of acceptance, compassion, connection, and wisdom. And yeah, I thought there would be a lot more to say about that, because I've been working on that, but I think I've managed to condense it down into that. But yeah, that the book Course in Miracles, I've been reading a little bit in that, and then I've been listening to Aaron Apke there. He has his version of the Course in Miracles on a series on his website. But I understand this concept of projection. Perception is projection, literally. What I perceive, I project out. And that was really eye-opening for me. And projecting out is just like judgment. I'm going to do it. It's what I do when I become aware that I am doing that. And what value does projection have for me to create the life that I want to lead, is what I want to talk about.
Right.
Because the projection is understanding that I do project, and owning my projection gives me power, or gives me access to the ability to change my life.
Yes.
And that's what I want to talk about, or hear your experience around that, and tie that to what do I do with the information that's generated by me owning my experience, or owning my projections, and how that plugs into the accountability tree. I think that's a key thing for me to understand how I do it. But as people who are learning how to do this, these are tools. Focus my attention. Today I intend, own my projection, move toward my pain. Those are different tools I can use.
Yeah.
And for me, I won't say just, but my experience now is I see them as tools. They each generate information, or they create information. And it's like, if I apply these things, they lead to moving toward the life that I want to have. And it comes from me being aware and using the information that's stored in my body, in my subconscious. I can't get to where I want to be unless I acknowledge the past, unless I have awareness of the past, what my behaviors are, my persistent and consistent subconscious behaviors.
Right.
they're also a tool when I can recognize them.
Yes.
And then and after all of this, it leads to the awareness that there's nothing wrong.
There's a lot of things that hurt. There's a lot of things that create separation. There's a lot of things that create destruction. And there is nothing wrong. And how to reconcile those two thoughts, concepts, is what we're going to talk about, or what we're talking about. Wow. I've been told a lot in the last 10, 15 years that I needed to clone myself. And I kept saying, no. And then listening to you today, Dan, proved to me that cloning myself would have been a mistake, because you just said in your way what I've been hearing myself say in my way from your perspective, which adds to the body of information. So cloning myself would restrict the body of information. Sharing this information with as many people as possible grows the body of expression, of information, of communication, capacity to disseminate this information to as many people as possible. Somebody listening to you, hearing it from your version, is different than what they've been hearing me say, and hopefully there's a click point where, oh, I'm hearing Dan say this, and I heard John say this, and it's the same thing. So I'm really excited and filled with gratitude, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this conversation.
I'm having I had a spiritual awakening, or a spiritual experience Wednesday morning. I'm having another one here. And I used to confuse those moments with fear.
Yes. Oh my God.
I didn't understand what was happening, and it's like, okay, what I don't know, I avoid. But what I don't know, what I'm coming to feel for myself is, this is a validation of me, this moment.
Yep.
What I'm feeling is a validation of me. It's somehow I'm acknowledging the truth about myself.
And if I could be so bold as to suggest that when I feel the validation of myself, I'm actually intentionally creating my life. That the validation is the evidence of intentional living. That creation is consciously going on.
And it's also has been constantly, consistently going on.
Right.
And in my experience, when I was in my addiction, my codependency, my violent style of communication, that was the creation of the subconscious pool of misinformation, as creative as the pool of information I have today that's healed through this process of accountability. It's still happening, only now I'm aware of where it's coming from.
Yeah, this was a feeling that I would run away from.
Yes,
Because
and that's where I was going to go with the Marianne Williamson poem. First line is, our biggest fear is not that we're inadequate beyond. Our biggest fear is that we're brilliant beyond measure. Now, when I first heard that, it just like didn't make any sense. I felt something, but it didn't make any sense. And then I experienced this, I'm going to call it quantum field awareness, potentiality, spiritual experience of, I just want to say okayness. And it scared me. It's like I didn't repel from it, but I was afraid of what would happen to me in it. Now, our experience from our past is people that got into that place either got stoned, crucified, burned at the stake, or run out of town. So,
Or ignored.
or ignored, or seen as insane or
Right.
eclectic or eccentric, silly, buffoon, town idiot, village idiot. So yes, wow.
For me, it's like, okay, all of a sudden, you know, now I have this experience, and the first thing I hear is the bar has been raised. Now you have to, this has to happen more often. Now that you're here, you've done this. It was like the first time I scored a touchdown playing football. All of a sudden, the expectation was every time I touched the ball, I was supposed to fucking run for a touchdown.
Right.
And it's just like, I can't live up to that.
No.
And that's for me was what happened. It was like I was having this experience and I go, this is dangerous.
Yep.
I can't tell anybody because then they're going to expect me to be able to do this all the time.
Right.
So it's like, you know.
Yeah, I do that. Very poignant.
Nothing to see here,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I learned not. I mean, this is all playing into what I learned not to disclose any of these things.
Right.
How are you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. You know, what do you need? Nothing. You know.
Yeah. I created an intent recently to be unapologetically joyful.
Ooh.
And the reason I created that was that I was afraid of hurting other people's feelings or making them feel bad if I stayed in my joy.
Yep.
And it was a barrier. So
yes.
I'm unapologetically joyful. And
Yep.
I'm telling you, this place is, I don't have a word, expansive, poignant,
Fun.
nourishing, permissive. It gives other people permission to experience their joy without having to have a reason. Like, how come you're so happy? It's like, I don't need a reason. I am.
Right. Or the old belief was, you know, you don't claim your greatness because you don't want to hurt other people's feelings.
Right.
You don't own your happiness because if you do, there's only so much. If you take some, somebody else is going to lose some.
Correct. Wow.
And the idea that there's that's an evidence of there's a lack of everything operating from that position of lack, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that if that's instilled and that operates across the entire spectrum of everything from money to happiness, which generates fear. I have to get to feel safe, and there is no feeling safe from if you operate from lack because there's never enough.
Right.
And it's just like, you know, I can look back and see, well, operating from you know, lack of love and connection. So I've spent my entire life trying to earn it rather than, and it's like, it's just there. Open your eyes. I mean, you know, this is, this is the awareness from today, based on all my experience and wisdom and life experience. It's like, it's there. I just have to be open to it.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of a lot easier than trying to earn a degree, have a great job, earn a whole shitload of money, have a house, have a car, have a wife, have kids, whatever else I can accumulate.
So let's go back and take a look at what you just said in the light of the constant activity of projection. Because if I believe that I don't have enough, and which is a version of I'm not enough, then that's what I'm going to see in the world. And so for me, what accountability practice taught me was how to face the truth that I believe I'm not enough. To start with the truth. The truth is I'm fundamentally and infinitely lacking. And to be able to sit with how does that make me feel? And whatever the emotion that showed up when I owned that, sadness, grief, anger, rage, doesn't matter, to be able to then just take that breath and ask myself, okay, what do I want? And for me, similar to what I heard John say, and similar to what I heard you say, Dan, is that over the course of doing this practice, I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, and health. What I discover is I get up in the morning and that's the world that greets me. I don't have to do anything. That's just the world that shows up, because that's what I'm now projecting. That's what I now have owned through the intentional practice. Intentional practice. I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, and health. And I added health since I got COVID to just dramatically expand the reach. And my experience is so 180 degrees different from the experience I had when I first met you guys.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And the beauty of it is, like I said, is like, it takes work and it doesn't take work. It's another one of those paradoxes in this activity that we're involved in. Because I have no idea how I now have a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, and health. And I don't need to know. So I just want it.
Right.
Right. It's I'm over here chuckling. It's like, it's work. And I'm going, well, that's a projection and a perception. And when
Yes.
yeah, so I mean, I'm just chuckling, but it's like, when I can only speak for myself, when I started this work, it was an effort. I had to bring all myself to bear on these issues, or I thought I did. And it was
because
effort.
you probably had a secret belief that life is hard.
Or yeah, it's like you're not applying yourself. You have to redouble your efforts here,
Right.
because the results aren't, that's the
If
old.
it comes easy, it's not important. Or
Exactly.
it's not valuable.
If I can do it, anybody can.
Right.
But now my perception is it's not work. It's a path to freedom. It's a path to joy. It's a path to connection. Somewhere along the line, that the sign on the door that I went called work got changed to healing, or happiness.
Play.
Play. And it's just like, oh, open the door. Oh, same shit. Oh, okay. Well, it's not that hard anymore. I mean, I'm glad to go to work. So yeah, I mean, this is the gift that keeps on giving. It's a new toy that I've found, and I'd like to, I want to share it with everybody in the sandbox. It's like, wow, look, I don't have to use my hands to carry the sand. I got this bucket. You just put the shit in it, and it carries it for you. Wow, come on, look at all we can do.
Yeah.
I continue to I don't know if I was going to say think, but I continue to have the sense, that's the best I can come up with. I continue to have the sense that the key to all of this is some version of radical acceptance, including all the things that I don't want to accept, including the judgments. And you said it earlier, Dan, when you talked about judging. Accept that I judge my judgments, or accept that I judge that I shouldn't be judging, and to somehow make peace with everything, which may be another way of saying fall in love with everything.
When we started reading those Sherry Huber books, and her explanation was compassion for myself, love and compassion for everything that I don't think I'm doing right, or everything that keeps cropping up. The whole spectrum of stuff I shouldn't be doing. I keep doing. Why do I have to do this again? And the ability to not do, or the ability to have compassion for myself, know that I hold value, and I'm trying to learn something that I have to on-the-job training. I can only know what I know when I know it, and the expectation that I should know it by now. Something's wrong because I keep repeating myself. Hang on a minute. Come on. Sorry. And I finally understood that. It's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. There is nothing wrong. There's just a belief that there is.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with having a belief that there's something wrong.
No. It's through through this practice that you start identifying these beliefs that they generate this experience for you. You feel that experience, and then it's like, do I really want this? What experience do I want to have? I want to be in love and value myself. I intend to love and approve of myself.
Yeah.
And on to the next.
I got the first inkling of this more radical acceptance process when I heard John say for the first time, and I don't know how frequently you may have been saying it before, John, but the first time I heard you say it, you said, I intend to revel in my character defects. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
And I remember it being simultaneously taken aback, like, what? And knowing that that was a statement of power and truth.
Yes.
So, like, as I told you when you checked in on me when I was sick with the COVID thing, I said, I give myself permission to have COVID.
Yep.
I revel in my COVID. Now, that to most of us, that might sound like kind of a stupid, counterproductive. What was the other adjective you had there, Dan? Fucking stupid. But the point is that
insane.
Yeah, but the point is, I either have the capacity to be in love with everything in this planet and in this universe, or I'm constantly discriminating unnecessarily, and I'm exiling things that I may actually not need to exile.
Yeah, that's what my understanding of the we're all connected. What happens to me, it affects you. how I treat you is how I treat myself. There is no you. It's the illusion of separateness. And yeah, it's what happens in Australia affects me here in California because we're all connected. There's just a belief that we're separate.
Right.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time in my book going over considering the possibility that that's just an evolutionary barrier that we keep pushing outward, so that when some of us have that breakthrough, then all of us have access to it, even though all of us may not yet act on it. It's like Jesus figured out 2,000 years ago that all you need to do is love God and love yourself as your neighbor, and that's it. And that changed the world, even though most of us may not still act on that yet.
Yeah.
But the fact that that consciousness is there gives all of us the possibility of accelerating our movement toward it.
Yes. Tapping into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So
And the same thing with accountability practice. So it may not be yet taken up by thousands and millions of people, but it's already out there.
Right. But and the accountability practice led through the myriad of times of application of the process has led me to that point to consider that, and then it's the truth.
So the millions of times of application of the process, let me give you my version, is identifying and stating a character, what we call defect, which is, let's say, alcoholism, which is in alignment with family of origin dysfunction and childhood trauma. So this is what I got mostly from the 12-step group, Adult Children of Alcoholics, is that if you were raised in a dysfunctional family, you have these 14 traits, or part of them, or some of them, or all of them. And I had them all. Okay. So that made sense to me, that being raised dysfunctionally created these similar traits. And through my process of wanting something different, wanting recovery, wanting health, I discovered that owning the character defect, and this is what Marty referred to as reveling in my character defects, because when I recognize a character defect now that I haven't recognized over the years, I grab it and I run to the accountability tree process, state it, take a breath, validates the trauma that's still hidden from me that created this spontaneous expression of meanness, whatever it was, where I flipped somebody off in the freeway, or judge somebody about they don't know how to merge, whatever. And I go, oh, I am judgmental, or I am keeper of the truth. I'm the one everybody's got to come to figure out how to do shit. So I own that character defect. I take a breath. It counterintuitively somehow validates that trauma that created it. And I can then reframe it, feel it, and that's the reframe, and say, I intend to be gracious, or I intend to be a defensive driver, or I intend to be kind and gracious. And then I add reveling in my character defects. When I identify a character defect, I know that that's going to add something that I now say I want, instead of what was produced in me through other people's projections. I'm talking about my guardians, and not only my guardians, my teachers, the whole society that gave me the socialization process. And I'm not saying the socialization process is wrong. I'm just saying it is what it is. And I then can consciously state what I want, which goes back down into that subconscious pool of information that created the jerk on the road. And I find myself enjoying my rides, enjoying being with people, and this sense of connectedness and that we've been talking about. And I was hoping we got to how we got here, how I got here, and how I'm hearing you, Marty, and Daniel say, is by owning the what is of the moment, whether it's resentment, bitterness, projection, and then moving to whatever your intent is from that awareness. It is my intent to be kind, or is my intent, which tapped into that power that created the jerk on the freeway. And I didn't judge the power that created the jerk on the freeway. I joined with the power that created it, and I said, it is my intent to be kind. And I find myself on the freeway and in situations where I'm a defensive driver. I'm courteous. I wonder at the people's, what's going on in their life that they're in such a hurry, or what they're learning about themselves. And the judgments are still judgments, but they become observations of connectedness, observations of where I can choose compassion, patience, kindness, which adds to the whole field. Accountability tree process, character defects into character assets. It's the alchemic chamber that they've been writing about for the last 4,000 years, about turning lead, asshole driver, to conscientious, safety, loving, compassionate gold, lead into gold. So yes, I revel in my character defect, because I know that I'm about ready to fly. I'm about ready to expand more, to be aware more, to have more of what I've been looking for, which is peace.
And I would suggest that I can only do that by being willing to revel in those things that I used to judge as negative, that came out of my self-loathing, that the lead of the self-loathing that I now transform with the help of my higher power into the gold of self-loving.
Well said.
And get to do it every day.
You do it every day.
Yeah, it's just my perception based on my beliefs about the information, the world changes. The world hasn't changed a bit. And this is the power of having a tool. For me, that is what generates the peace, calm, and the feeling of safety. I remember there was I'm generating all this awareness, and it's like I'm reenacting the trauma that I've experienced. I'm aware that it's happening and I'm feeling it. And that's the old pattern. There was no, what do I do with the awareness? There was no, I have the information and it's useless.
Right.
And when the part that the accountability tree gives me is that I've arrived now at the awareness. What do I do with the information? Well, I have the information now, and it's like, okay, what do I want to do based on the information? And without that step, I'm just stuck in the loop.
Right.
And
Yes.
which for me, the awareness is I've watched and continue to watch, is I'm reenacting the trauma over and over and over again, which in turn, what do they call it? creates the path of least resistance again to go through the trauma one more time, but quicker. Or I have to, yeah. So I don't know how this comes up, but the thought came into my head, I have to create an off-ramp. And that's, what do I want? I pick the off-ramp I want.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you know, we're whatever, the awareness, okay, I'm being judgmental again. Oh, and it's like, okay, what do I want? Oh, I want the acceptance off-ramp. There it is. Boom. So each time I go back into judgment, I go back to myself. It's like, what do I want? Acceptance. Boom, get off the freeway again. And after God knows how many times, I feel the judgment, and then it's like, we're switching to acceptance. We're switching to acceptance. We're switching to acceptance. And pretty soon I find myself, just like every other behavior, like riding a bike, I do it without thinking or without any conscious effort. And I'm going to assume that when I go to judgment, I take the acceptance off ramp automatically. Just like when I drive down the freeway and I forget, I start thinking, and then I wind up, you know, past my off ramp, but I haven't crashed into anybody because I have that program. And the accountability program gives me that the ability to take the off ramp that I want over and over again, and then that's how my new behavior shows up.
Right. In clinical terms, you're creating new neural pathways. Right. Yes.
And that's why I don't have to fix the lane on the freeway that's, you know, marked judgment.
Right.
I don't have to fix that. I don't have to block it off. Right. I don't want to block it off.
No.
I want to drive down that lane, and when judgment comes, I use the process of awareness, acceptance, and what do I want? And then it's like, well, we need to go over here now. We're going to take the off ramp here. We're going to take the acceptance off ramp. I can't take the acceptance off ramp if I don't have the judgments. In the beginning, I have to have the judgments so I can use the judgments to create the new behavior. You can't teach a dog to do something that you want him to do until he doesn't do what you want him to do. You correct him. Then after a while, he does the different behavior you want.
Correct.
So it's like, there's nothing wrong. I'm just using the character defect to create what I want. And when it shows up, I just have the programming to go, doom, here. And then it just self-perpetuates and it becomes unconscious.
Right.
And that's how I wind up doing what I want to do. And it's like, wow, how'd this all happen? Because it's not in my conscious awareness, because it's happening in the subconscious part of my brain.
Right. Buddha calls that right action. The action coming from you tells you about you. If you like the action coming from you, keep doing what you've been doing.
Right.
If you don't like the action coming from you, own the source of the action, which is dysfunction, lie, belief.
Misinformation.
Misinformation.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. Nothing more. And it hurts, and it's destructive, and it causes pain and separation. Yes, it is. It is simply misinformation.
And the awareness is, it's not me as the human being.
Correct.
That's flawed or doesn't get it or is a horrible person or whatever construct that works for you, that keeps you stuck. The blame, the shame, the judgment,
Yep.
You're fucked up, you piece of shit.
Right. Let me use this analogy. If we see an animal, let's say a dog with a broken leg, and we use the same logic we do on each other. So I'm going to go over there and help that dog. I'm going to get his leg and put it in a splint. that dog is going to bite me. Now, when the dog bites me, I go, oh, yeah, it's a wounded animal. I see what's going on. But when I do that with a human being and they go, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of my face. It's none of your business. I judge them as defective, got a problem. Like, then I take it all personal. I don't take the dog biting me personal. The dog has a broken leg. He's doing what dogs do. So I take measures to assist the dog as a dog, not as an enlightened being. He is doing exactly what he does. And I don't know if I made that analogy correct, but I experienced ridicule, humiliation, and judgment from my parents when I did something out of line with what they thought was right.
Absolutely.
And then I got blamed, chastised, ridiculed, or punished for being who I was, which is, I don't know. It's like, or spilling the milk, or burning the toast, or running
being
through the house.
you.
Now, being me, running through the house with excitement and enthusiasm and getting told I'm a bother.
You know, it's ironic to bring this conversation full circle. We as little children are the victims of the projections of these adults.
Yes.
Who are absolutely unaware of the internal world of their own pain and suffering that they're imposing on their children.
Correct.
And their parents and their grandparents and their great grandparents were probably all of them passing this on, unaware of the mechanism that they were ensnared in.
Right.
And it goes to your point about the wounded animal. And that's, again, a point I make in my book, is that this is an evolutionary process, and we cannot be farther along the line than we are.
Right.
We are where we are. Practices like accountability and other spiritual practices give us the capacity to push beyond where we are.
Yeah.
But it's not automatic. It takes intention.
Right.
Otherwise, the species as a whole is going to move at whatever pace the species as a whole is capable of moving, and it's never going to move any faster than it's going to move.
Right.
And it goes back to there's nothing wrong with that. It's you know, every human being as an individual, we go through stages. We start in infancy, and we have childhood, and we have adolescence, and we have young adulthood, we have middle age, and a 5-year-old cannot be an adult.
No,
it cannot be done. It's like at whatever stage we're at, we cannot be farther than the stage we're at. And the potential to be farther, the potential to grow to the next level is already within us. And one of the things that accountability practice has taught me is how to tap into that potential.
Yes.
Because there's value and possibility. Like Dan was saying, we have these tools now, but it takes intentional and conscious application of those tools.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong if I don't do it. Again, I think that the first thing that I learned from you, John, in this process that caught my attention was no blame, no judgment. The idea of, because I was addicted to blame and judgment.
Yeah.
When I first started 10 years ago or 12 years ago with you in the men's group, it's like, don't tell me no blame, no judgment. I get my jollies from that.
Yeah.
Right.
My expertise.
Right.
Well, yeah, the whole, yeah, you know, it's like we chuckle about that, but for that little boy, being able to blame and judge others creates his safety.
Yes.
That's why we still like it as adults.
Yes.
I don't,
in this perverse kind of way.
Yep.
I mean, to sum it up for me is that everything I'm learning about myself and the awareness level that I have, everybody, the other people in the world, everybody has the possibility to learn these lessons.
Exactly.
When I understand, when I get to the level, or I get to this point where I know that, you know, my inside world, I project on the outside world, and I just open my eyes, and everybody else is doing that without any, not everybody. a lot of people are doing it without any awareness. And it's just like, it's not, then the judgment goes away. They know not what they, God forgive them, or
Right.
forgive them, for they know not what they do. Just, and God forgive me, for I know not what I do.
Correct.
Well, and I would
And-
suggest the willingness to take that stance opens the door to compassion.
Well, it is compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, as an experience too, not just as a conscious intention, but actually
Right.
to feel safe. If I'm experiencing compassion, I'm feeling safe. And if I'm feeling safe, I'm feeling happy and what was it? Radically joyful, unapologetically joyful.
Yes.
And one more thing I want to add is like having this awareness at this point in time. I understand that for my entire life up until recently here, I've taken everything personally.
Wow. Yeah.
And I have an ego whose job it is to do that. That's the subconscious part of ourselves. Its job is to keep ourselves safe. And the only way it could do that is to generate fear, shame, and blame and project out onto the world because it believes that we're separate from the whole.
Yeah. Wow.
And so what I heard Marty say is that through listening to a bunch of people and reading that Course in Miracles is the ego is no longer necessary for our survival. So evolution will delete it. That's when all of us, or majority of us, because these beliefs are passed on through our DNA. So when we have people who believe and act, these are the people that survive. So the next generation will, instead of the generational trauma that's passed down, that won't happen. And that's how we create a larger pool of people who can be open to this information, because they won't have to go through all this stuff. They'll already be born into this world.
Mm.
And it's like, well, how, I'm 60 years old and I'm doing this work. Well, can I can project backwards and go, what happens if I was born into this world, like Solomon?
Yeah.
When that's like, who knows where this person is born in the world that's going to change the world.
Right.
And I don't know, it's just like, it's like, this is crazy making. It's like, what am I going to do? The answer is I'm going to continue to do what I do, grow, and live my life on the way I want to, and make the contribution or do what I want to do, is to empower people to see themselves in their true, authentic light.
Yep. Wow.
And
So I have a question for you, Dan.
yeah,
Can you see your picture there on the screen?
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So would you be willing to consider the possibility that you're looking at a picture of somebody changing the world?
yes,
Yeah.
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 So I'm going to go as far as this, is that I'm comfortable with saying that I'm a gift.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Daniel. Oh, yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Oh my God.
We all are.
We all are.
It's just the belief that we're not.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Then as to the extent that I create that inner consciousness of being a gift to the world, I'll start seeing the world as a gift to me.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's the mirror. Everybody's holding up their mirror.
Right.
They're showing me myself. And how,
Mhm.
what a great place to live. I
Mhm.
just have to have the information to see the world through those lenses.
Yep,
Life happens for me, not to me.
yep. Uh,
So yeah, yay.
Yay.
Well, it's a good note for us to wrap up on, as
Yeah. Oh my God.
we've had a really powerful conversation. I'm going to ask Dan to make any summarizing comments that you want, and then John, ask you to close us out.
Okay.
I hold value as a human being. Life happens for me, not to me. And be kind to yourself. And I'm going to continue. My intent is to continue to persistently and consistently fall in love with myself.
Oh.
All right.
Um, Well, being we're being recorded, Dan and Marty, I want to say I love you both. I am so appreciative of being with you guys and being part of this. And Dan, when I heard you say I'm a gift, it brought tears to my eyes because yes, you are. Oh my God. Wow. You are Marty. I am. I know I am. It's like, wow. Okay. That's my last word. Wow.
Well, and thank you, John, and thank you, Dan. And for anyone who's watching this, you are too
You are too.
a gift to the world. So we'll reconnoiter next time. Everybody have a great weekend.